You are welcome once again to this session of project proposal writing. My name is Alan from Professional Writers, where we specialize in writing all kinds of professional documents, including project proposals, grant proposals, research proposals, and any kind of professional document. Today, we are going to be looking at how we write a project proposal. So you'll see that many organizations are looking for funding to implement their activities at the organization. But without the proper writing skills, it is very difficult for any NGO founder or director or manager to come up with a document that is going to convince the funders or the donors to donate a sufficient amount of money, which is going to be able to help the organization implement all of its activities. In this session, we are going to be empowering NGO founders, especially the new NGO founders, to come up with ways in which they can write proper project proposals in order to get funding for their organizations. So we shall dive right in. We'll start by asking a basic question. What exactly is a project proposal? So a project proposal is a detailed document that is going to outline the objectives, the scope, the approach, and the expected outcomes of the project. So it is just that. It is a document that is going to be outlining all these things. So in other words, a project proposal is a document that you're going to give to your funder or to your donor. And when they read it, we hope that they are going to get convinced that the activities that we need to do are actually very important, and they are going to give you funding such that you can do those activities. There are majorly 6 types of project proposals, and every new NGO founder or someone managing an NGO must be aware of these types, because each of these types takes a different format. The first and most commonest type is what we call the solicited proposal. So the solicited proposal is a type of project proposal that has been asked for by the donor. So in other words, the donor is going to create what we call a request for proposals or a call for proposals, and then they are going to send it out to various organizations. So the organizations will go ahead and write their proposals and submit them for review, and then the funding organization can choose who they are going to give the funding. So that is called a solicited proposal. And this is what most people are writing. This is the type that is being written mostly by many of you and many of the organizations. So you'll see that every time you're writing a solicited proposal, they will give you so many documents attached. They could give you terms of reference, could give you a technical proposal format, could give you a financial proposal template, and any other documents that the funding organization might want you to fill. The next type is what we call the unsolicited proposal. So the unsolicited proposal is when there is no request, but for you, you feel that if you write the proposal and give it to a certain individual or organization, they might end up funding your project. So it's called an unsolicited proposal. And this is the best type to be written by NGOs that are just starting out, because it is very difficult to compete in a solicited proposal with organizations that have existed for a very long time. We also have what we call informal proposals. These are just basic, and for smaller projects, you could have an organization, and then you say you're going to construct maybe toilets for your beneficiaries. It's just a small thing, okay? So it's called an informal proposal. So we have what we call a renewal. This is when the project has ended and you want to renew it. You can write another proposal. We have a continuation. This is when the funds that you had maybe were not sufficient to complete the project, and then you write a continuation project proposal such that you get more funding and you can complete the project. We have what we call a supplemental. So this is when you need more funding to finish the project activities. So it's a bit different from continuation, because continuation is when you already knew that maybe you're going to spend $10,000 on something, and then you only got $5,000. So when you spend the $5,000, you write another $5,000 project proposal, and then you can get the other 5,000. But in supplemental, you might have hoped that the project is going to take 10,000, and then you spend all the 10,000, and you still need to continue with the activities. So you write a supplemental project proposal. So for this training of today, we are going to be looking mostly at the unsolicited proposal. The unsolicited proposal is one in which there is no donor who has asked you to write it. But depending on the interactions that you have made with people, depending on the interests that you have built with people, depending on the relationships that you have made with people, you think that when you give them your proposal, they might end up funding it. Okay, so let's start with the first thing that happens is what we call the project theme. So the project theme is also like the project title of your proposal. And this is where most people make the biggest mistakes, because they do not know how to come up with a good project theme. So a project theme is that first title that is going to be on your cover page of the project proposal. So what does the project theme contain? So the project theme has to have a goal of the project or the purpose of the project. It must have the proposed intervention. It must have the project beneficiaries, and it must have the project location. Those are four major components. So let's look at an example. Maybe we could say you want to eliminate poverty among internally displaced persons through sustainable practices, through sustainable agriculture practices in Mangala, South Sudan. So this is just an example of a project theme. So the owner of this organization, the founder, is thinking that there are so many people who have been internally displaced within South Sudan because of many reasons. It could be conflict, it could be floods, it could be other natural calamities. And these people have moved to a certain place. But when they have moved here, they have come in big numbers and they don't have anything they are doing, so they are poor. So you want to create a project that is going to address this problem. So the goal of the project is to eliminate poverty, or you can call it address, or to alleviate, or anything, eliminate poverty. And then the proposed intervention is sustainable agriculture practices. The project beneficiaries are the internally displaced persons, and the project location is Mangala, South Sudan. So that is like an example. So if you're setting up your own project theme, make sure that it follows that line. Okay, so the next thing we are going to talk about in an unsolicited proposal is the organizational background and relevant experience. Every donor wants to know that the organization that they are going to give their money is an actual organization, and also that they have experience in what they say they are going to do. So the first thing we are going to talk about is the organizational name, and then the year in which the organization was established, the mission and vision of the organization, the core values, the geographic areas of operation, the key areas and sectors of work, and also you can come up with your organizational structure and governance formula. So this is like the organizational background. You could say my organization is called Professional Writers, and we were established in 2025. And our mission is to do this, our vision is to do this, our core values. We are already a registered organization, and this is our registration number. We are located in this place, and this is what we do, you know. So briefly, you do an organizational background section. So that is the first part after you have written your theme. And then the next, you're going to go to organizational experience. And this is where we are talking about only the relevant experience. So relevant experience, we mean that you talk about the experience that is in line with the activities that you are going to be doing. If you're going to alleviate poverty and your organization has ever done something similar in a different place, that is what we call experience. experience has to be relevant. You don't have to talk about things that are unrelated to the theme of your project. Okay, so the next thing we are going to be talking about is the project rationale. So you have seen so many problems that are faced by your beneficiaries. I don't think that is the only problem. So why have you chosen to address that problem? So for this case, we are saying we want to address poverty, but IDPs or internally displaced persons in a country could have so many problems, okay? The problems with security, problems with so many things. So why have we chosen to address the problem of poverty? So you need to write something that we call a problem statement. And this problem statement has to have findings, the findings that are got from a needs assessment. So findings, for instance, for this case, you could say this place had maybe 10,000 people. And then when these other people were displaced from their own locations, they came here and now the place has 40,000 people. So 40,000 people are competing with the only jobs that were here. They are eating the food that was here. So it is going to end up it is going to result into poverty. So that's a numerical representation of the problem. And it is very important that you do that. So we also get the contextual background of the problem. So you talk about your beneficiaries and why you want to help them. And you justify why the project is very important. The next thing you can also talk about are the gaps in the current interventions, because you might see that there is something that is being done. So you need to talk about what is being done and why you think it's not the best or it's not sufficient. And that is why your project is going to come in and address the existing problem. So we have what we call the project objectives. So after you have written your theme, you have written your organizational background, your problem statement justification. So you're going to go ahead and talk about the objectives. So objectives are a breakdown of the various elements that the project is aiming to achieve. So these objectives are in direct synchronization with the project theme. They are a derivative of the project theme. They must come from the project theme. And they must be specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound. This is what we call SMART objectives. Let's take an example of what we've been talking about. We could say that for us to alleviate poverty or to eliminate poverty, we are going to do it in 3 ways. We are going to enhance food security, we are going to increase household income, and we are going to build agricultural capacity. Okay, so we have broken down sustainable agriculture, and we want to achieve this with our sustainable agriculture practices, which has been obtained from the project theme. So let's look at the first objective. The first objective, we are saying we want to increase crop yields by 30% of 500 internally displaced households in Mangala within 18 months by providing training, seeds, and tools for sustainable agriculture practices. So we want to be specific, to increase crop yields, okay? We want to be measurable, 30% of 500, and it is achievable and time-bound, 18 months. So every objective has to follow that kind of smartness, that it shows exactly the quantity of what you want to achieve. So the same applies to these other objectives, boosting the average household income and training of internally displaced farmers. Okay? Okay. And then we are going to talk about project activities. So after you have set up your project objectives, we are going to have to talk about the project activities. So project activities are a direct derivative of the project objectives. So for each of the objectives you mentioned, what activities are you going to be doing under it? For instance, we can say that to enhance food security, we are going to conduct the following activities: conduct baseline assessments, provide sustainable agriculture training, distribute seeds and tools, implement regular M&E support, For the second objective, you are going to develop and launch agricultural enterprises, provide businesses and financial management, establish market linkages. So we are literally breaking down each objective into manageable activities, okay? So, and these are the activities that are going to guide us as we are implementing our project, okay? So I think this is clear. So after you've done that, we are going to do the project outcomes and outputs. And I want to put a lot of emphasis here. So what is an output? So an output is a tangible or a measurable deliverable that is produced by a project. So in other words, it is an immediate result that the project is going to accomplish. For instance, we might want to count how many training sessions have we conducted, okay? How many seeds have we given out to farmers? How many workshops have we conducted? So these are the short-term things that you are going to do in the project. Those are the outputs that you're going to do. They are immediate and you can easily quantify them and count them. While an outcome is the broader or the longer term effect of the impact. Okay? So the broader or the long-term effect of the impact resulting from the project output. So the project outputs are what you do as the organization, and the outcome is what is going to be the result, the long-term result, and it is achieved after some period of time. So in this example, we could see things like improved security for households. So this is achieved after a very long period of time because people have to do farming, their crops have to grow, until that time when there is food security. We have increased income levels and enhanced skills and knowledge among the farmers. Okay? So we can take it like that. And then the next thing we are going to talk about is the M&E framework. So when you look at this, we have what we call an M&E framework. So an M&E framework is a systematic structure used to plan, track, and assess the performance and impact of a project. So this is, a systematic structure, and we want to just see how our project is doing. So I have just gotten a structure of a sample M&E framework for what it would look like for this specific project. So if you look at this, we have a table. We have a table with objective, a table with KPIs, data collection, frequency, sources, evaluation, and feedback mechanism. So when you look clearly at this, we are going to have our objective here. So when you have our objective, the first objective was to enhance food security. So enhancing food security, how are we going to see that the food security, what are we going to use, to measure that there is actually food security being enhanced? We could say, we shall see this by an increase in crop yields by 30%. That is a key performance indicator, or what we call the KPIs. And then how are we going to collect data? We're going to use field surveys or crop yield records. And then the frequency, we're going to do it every quarter. And then the sources are from project records and reports. Evaluation is going to always be midterm and final evaluations. And then the feedback mechanism, we shall adjust training and support as needed in case we don't achieve this. So this is just a simple, M&E framework that you can adopt as an organization when you're dealing with your projects, okay? So ideally, you'll see that I have put objectives here, but you'll see that each of these objectives is going to have activities. And we're going to create a KPI for each of those activities. So if you have chosen to have like 5 activities under enhancing food security, each of them is going to have a KPI, data collection, methodology, the frequency, source, like that. And you'll have a big M&E framework. Okay, and then most importantly is the budget. So the budget is going to highlight how much money that you need for this project. So the budget is so easy to do. what you're going to do is you're going to plan for mostly three major things. One, the activities. So you have talked about the activities that you're going to do. So you're going to attach a cost to each of those activities. Okay. And then we are going to budget for personnel. We're going to be asking ourselves how much you want to pay the people who are going to be part of the project. And then you're going to also do the administrative costs. So these are the three major things that you're going to do. So you're just going to put the list of the items, and then the unit cost and the total amount. And you're going to have a total. So depending on what you want to ask for, you can budget that and put it in a tabular form, and you can have it. It is very important to use the currency which is best understood by your donor. Now, we want to talk about sustainability. And what is sustainability? Every donor does not want to give you money forever. They want to give you money once, and then the project kicks off and it continues. And it is very important that you include the sustainability plan, because the question is, what if the project is finished? Because a project is time-bound, as we have been saying, it is time-bound. So what if the time of the project has elapsed? What is going to happen? Are people going to go back to poverty? Or there is a way in which the project has been planned that it is going to continue? For instance, we could say we're going to get more strategies for financial sustainability. Maybe we shall talk with the government to help us in supporting some of these activities, even when the project has ended. Okay. We shall do community engagement and ownership, such that the community, anybody who has received seeds, if they get a harvest, they can also give seeds to another person, such that the project, the poverty doesn't happen again. And then we can talk about things like capacity building and training, partnerships and collaboration. So all these things can help us in sustainability. So sustainability plans can be different depending on the kind of project that you are partaking. So it's important to ask yourself, how can I make this project sustainable? And you can always talk about all these things in your plan. And then we so that's not a part of this. And then we have what we call the risk analysis. So risk analysis is when you're talking about the possible risks that could happen in your project. So in the risk analysis, we have 4 major types of risks. We have financial risks, operational risks, strategic risks, and regulatory risks. So you're going to talk about the possible risks that could happen in your project. Maybe you might have funding shortfalls, unanticipated costs, currency fluctuations, logistical challenges. And these risks are also going to be different depending on the kind of project. If you're dealing with poverty, you're going to have different risks. If you're dealing with security, you're going to have different risks, and also depending on the area where you're implementing this project from. So it's important to think about that, and then we come up with a risk analysis that falls under each of these 4. Okay. And maybe lastly, we can talk about the work plan. The work plan is a tabular representation of what you're going to do when, and it's a plan. Okay. So I just adopted this. This is a Gantt chart, and a Gantt chart is always a good thing to demonstrate your work plan. So it shows the dates and then the activities. So the tasks, maybe I'm going to distribute seeds, and then you put when you're going to do that. You're going to train farmers, you put when you're going to do that, like that, until you represent it in a tabular format. So thank you so much for listening to me. I am very happy that you're part of this training. I still want to remind you that for those who are interested in the premium coaching program for project proposal writing, we are still registering. And if you're interested, you can just send me a DM and reach me, and then we can put you into the coaching business. You can just send me a WhatsApp. I will also post a link in the group for those who want to join, and you can join the group for the premium ones, where we do a daily one-on-one training about project proposal writing, such that you can get funding for your own projects and get your organization off the ground. Thank you so much, and I am willing to listen to some questions or comments right now from you. Thank you.